So there's two things we're watching, Humberto and then what will eventually become Imelda. These two things. And how they interact with each other is going to be fascinating, to say the least, next week. So here's the tracks for what will become Imelda. And I want you to notice, yes, I'm not going to hide the fact and close my eyes like they don't exist. Yes, there are some tracks that are pretty close to the Space Coast that kind of do like a Dorian type of thing where it looks like it's going to come here and doesn't, and just parallels up the coast. That is possible. It seems to be pretty unlikely that that's going to occur. There are several, though, a growing number today, that take this other one into the Carolinas as a more direct landfall. Not all, but notice the dispersion here. There's like a huge envelope of where this other system is going to go. So I want to show you the models. First, I'm going to show you our Fox weather model, which only runs out a couple of days forward in time. It computes 4 times daily. So here's the latest edition of it. We'll pick it up tomorrow at noon. So there's Humberto over here. Now notice this system, it crosses Cuba and Hispaniola tomorrow into Friday into early Saturday. Then it should start to gather somewhere around the Bahamas. Now here's Sunday, and again, this is the very puzzling thing meteorologically, is that which one of these two ends up stronger. This is not hyperbole to say, it is exceedingly rare, especially in this part of the world, to have 2 strong hurricanes next to each other. Even where this type of thing is more common, which is over in the Indian Ocean and in the Pacific, almost always one ends up being a lot stronger than the other, meaning like one's a Cat 4 and the other's like a tropical storm struggling. Because when you have 2 hurricanes next to each other, there's only so much dynamics in the atmosphere for them to use, and they often can, it takes really truly a perfect scenario to have 2 major hurricanes so close to each other, because they end up impacting each other in a negative way. Nevertheless, here's next Monday morning. Here we are, safely Imelda offshore, and then this would be Humberto. But again, the question would be, what happens after that? So here's the Euro for today. Here's next Monday. Notice it has the other one, which is Humberto, stronger. I kind of leaned that way, that if there's going to be one of these that reaches Cat 4 or Cat 5, it's going to be this one, Imelda, or Humberto. So this one out here already formed, then this one's going to form. So it should stay, this one, safely east of us, in all likelihood. But again, the question for our friends up in the Carolinas is what happens after it passes by Florida. So here's the longer range Euro. I'll take you out further than our Fox model does. There you see it also has Humberto, pretty strong, major hurricane maybe by Sunday night. And then Imelda going through the eastern Bahamas, but safely, you see the eye of which would become Imelda, safely off our coast. So maybe some gusty winds on the beaches and some rough surf. But then we start this kind of a dance thing where they interact with each other. Then this one right here, I know this looks head-scratching, but it's not common here, where Humberto picks up Imelda and brings it out. So this over here is Humberto, and then Imelda just kind of gets left behind. And then a big high builds in over New England, and this thing just kind of gets trapped out here and actually tries to move back west the end of next week. The long story short is, for us here, we're probably good from both of them. One of them should end up a pretty nasty hurricane, but the interaction of both of them for our friends in the Carolinas and then up into the mid-Atlantic is tricky for the end of next week. But even in the most wild scenario, I just don't see the left storm, which would become Imelda, making a landfall here. That seems exceedingly unlikely. Not impossible, but not worrisome at all for right now.